Welcome in. This is the Second Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your reaction pod to Captain Keegan Bradley's selections for the United States Ryder Cup team. We are going to discuss every little nook and cranny about those picks that were made today. And joining me to do just that, Mark Immelman is here. Hello, Mark.
Hi, boys. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Very good looking hat.
Thank you. Or should I say go USA or go Europe? Because I'm torn right now.
Torn indeed. Greg DuCharme is here. Hello, Gregors.
I am not torn. It's go USA for me all the way. I'm pleased, dare I say. It's not perfect, but the team that I would have picked if it were me, if I were captain, I think we got 11 of the 12, and I'm okay with the sub out. So all in all, positive for me.
Okay, well, we will get to all of that. Two quick housekeeping items off the top here. We are simulcasting this episode of The Second Cut on the Rick Run Good YouTube channel. So if you're on the Rick Run Good channel and saying, hey, what's this? We do this a lot. Couple of times a week, talk about professional golf. We do round recaps and previews and all that fun stuff. So head on over to The Second Cut Podcast on YouTube, wherever you get your pods. Make sure you're following. Make sure you are subscribed. Number two item is that our NFL season Survivor has crossed into the triple digits. So there is now at least $5,000 that someone is going to win by being the last man standing in our NFL Survivor. So the links for that in the description. Those are the two housekeeping items. Let's get to today. Captain Keegan Bradley was in Frisco, Texas at the PGA of America and released his final 6 selections. So to go with the automatic qualifiers of Scotty Scheffler, JJ Spawn, Xander Schauffele, Russell Henley, Harris English, and Bryson DeChambeau, Keegan added 6 more names. The big storyline coming into this, Mark, was will he or won't he pick himself? We'll get to that in just a second, but leading into the morning, it was very much about Keegan playing, Keegan captaining, Keegan doing both.
Yes, and I was sort of somewhat disappointed over the last few days when there were these leaks that Sam Burns was going to be on the team, and that bothers me some because apparently someone close to the Brains Trust just couldn't keep his or her mouth shut, so they have to leak it somewhere, and then the next thing, it's all over social media, which was disappointing to me. Look, personally, I was surprised but not surprised when I saw the picks, when I heard the picks. I think in larger part, I understand where they're all coming from, and I see a lot of picking people around what the golf course is going to offer in terms of Bethpage Black. But man, you are showing a lot of gumption to reach down the list to people that are in the 15, 16 sort of a range, but that's just my opinion.
Well, we're going to get more of your opinion, but let's get to pick number 1. And it was very little of a surprise. Justin Thomas selected first and foremost. Greg, not a surprise here. He was inside the top 12 of the rankings. He was a winner this year. And I thought this was so interesting. This is his 4th Ryder Cup appearance. He is the most experienced member of this Ryder Cup team.
Yeah, and really, you start going down the list, the only way you could have gotten more is to go all the way down to Jordan Spieth, which I think at this point, with Jordan not making the BMW, not making the Tour Championship, I think we knew that that he wasn't going to get selected. I'm curious if he even got a phone call. I think he probably knew at that point. But that experience for Justin Thomas, it's more than just playing in 3 previous Ryder Cups. It's the record. Ultimately, a 7-4-2 record is very strong. 3-0-0 in singles is very strong. Captain Zach Johnson took a chance on him last time. He was 15th in the rankings, and he performed well. I know he didn't earn all the points that he wanted to. He won his singles match, and he kind of had to carry Jordan Spieth around in Rome. So this was a no-brainer.
Yeah, those two did not play particularly well together, but Justin Thomas, as Greg mentioned, Mark, has never been beaten in Sunday singles. He is I guess he's the emotional captain of this team. Well, I'll reveal the rest of these guys, but your number 1 player in the world, Scotty Scheffler, maybe more on the silent, strong side of things. JJ Spawn, Xander Schauffele, they're not going to be having any hype speeches. Maybe Justin Thomas is your emotional leader.
I would say so. Certainly, in terms of just pure energy and passion, I would say Brasson's a rival, but
Sure.
JT's just been around a little bit more. So yeah, it's Keegan Cole in the heartbeat of the team. I knew he was going to make the lineup, but therein lies the thing too, because are you picking people just because they're fit and for combinations, or because JT earned the lion's share of his points with a massive check he made at the RBC Heritage. Beyond that, the big results were sparing, but you have seen some trending in the game. So I'm cool with a pick. I'm cool with the role he plays in the team. He's he will run through a wall for the United States and for Keegan Bradley. So you cannot put a value on that passion. And I think his pick is well deserved. I was thinking about it and I sort of giggled when I was on a show this morning. I'm like, gosh, why not just send Brasson and JT out first now? Because those two guys are going to just get people going bananas, the two of them together. And I feel like that could actually be a fun combination to watch in like a 4-ball or something like that. So, yeah, JT, a well-deserved pick. Obviously, logical pick being number 6. But again, he earned all of his points a few months ago. And since then, it's been sort of the success has been sparing.
Game hasn't been as sharp since the victory. The putter in 2025 has been better. We'll see what Justin Thomas brings to Bethpage. And Mark, I'm going to bounce this one right back to you here, because second name out of Captain Keegan Bradley's mouth is Colin Morikawa. Probably not much of a surprise here. The two-time major champion made his debut in the Ryder Cup at Whistling Straits, where he went 3-0-1. The record in Rome was not nearly as good, 1-3 overall, though none of the Americans had a very good time in Rome. And, we have spent a lot of energy talking about Colin Morikawa and how it's been a few years since he's won on the PGA Tour, but he is going to be a stalwart of this team, and I imagine he's going to play quite a bit.
Yeah, I would think so, but here's my issue, and I'm not picking on Colin, but Sam Burns was picked. Why? Because he was a great putter and a good match player, right?
Yeah, correct.
And match play is essentially putting. The weakness in Colin Morikawa's game is with a putter.
Yes.
And the way the golf course stacks up, if he's playing alternate shot, he's going to have to make a number of putts. So you weren't ever going to not pick him, given that he was ranked number 7. But I know a lot of folks who would have made a pretty convincing argument to say that there should have been some people that might have been picked before him. But I still feel like he's going to be a strong man. He's tremendously proud. He's going to play well. But I didn't think that he was going to be picked at number 7. I felt like if he was picked, he was closer to number 11 or 12 than anything else. So in the end, it was pretty comfortable. I have my reservations because just because of the way he's putting right now, and his game clearly isn't where it should be. Yeah,
Mark mentions the putter, and it's a problem, Greg. 163 qualified golfers on the PGA Tour. 163 qualified for stats this year. Colin Morikawa's strokes gained putting, 141. Some of the names that are worse than Colin Morikawa, I'm just going to drive by on these guys. Antoine Rosner, Trevor Cohn, Siwoo Kim, Patton Kizzire. Those are the putting peers of Mr. Morikawa.
Yes, but none of them, not even Siwoo Kim, none of them are ball striking peers to Colin Morikawa, even when he's struggling. Even when Mark says that he's not passing the eye test, he still performs quite well with his ball striking. He is as reliable as anybody with the driver in his hands, and one of the best iron players in the game. Now, I was looking before this at, who wins the points in Ryder Cups? Is it because when you watch the matches, it's very easy to see that guys who make putts win matches, but are they great putters? And what got me going on this was, Justin Rose back in the day, Sergio Garcia, the greatest points getter of all time. Lee Westwood, players like this who are Ryder Cup legends who are not very good putters on the PGA Tour. So I decided to look into it. And of players to win 3 or more points in the Ryder Cup over the last 6 Ryder Cups, 9 of the 34 of them were outside the top 100 in strokes gained putting. Only 4 of them were inside the top 10. 8 of them were top 25. It's like 23%. So, in my analysis of the data, you have to make putts in the Ryder Cup. You don't have to be a great putter to do that. Conversely, you look at the ball striking side of things, and of players to win 3 or more points in the Ryder Cup. Again, this is 34 players. 28 of them were top 25 strokes gained tee to green entering the Ryder Cup, right? That's 82%. And 31 of them were top 50. We'll get to this when we talk about Sam Burns. So there's a very heavy correlation to tee to green play. And if I'm looking at this board, and probably the second best ball striker on the American side, I couldn't leave him off the team. So I was all for Colin.
We've got Justin Thomas, we've got Colin Morikawa, and now we have.
I'm going to stop you. Where were you on Colin?
I think he had to be on the team.
I'm not saying he shouldn't have been. I'm just saying a lot of stock was placed in a guy that really hasn't been playing very well at all lately.
Yeah. I'm worried. It is not with a lot of confidence that I would be rolling out Colin Morikawa. I agree with Greg that the ball striking stuff is really good. It's really good, but I don't think he's much of he can't putt. I don't think he brings much to the locker room, to be quite honest with you. I think he's a guy who could go 1-3 or 3-1. So I think he's a very volatile option at Bethpage.
I'm keen to see who he gets paired off with, because I was trying to find out people he's played alongside, and I know he played with Bryson in 21.
Played with DJ.
Yeah, and then I know he's played with JT as well. So it's like I don't see like an automatic guy that he's going to play alongside, if that makes sense to me.
I agree with that, Greg. I mean, is that? I feel like that's kind of the gift and the curse of him, is he doesn't have that built-in. He doesn't have that built-in partner. There's probably a lot of guys that do want to. I mean, he hits a lot of fairways and he can flush his second shots. You think guys would want to play with him? He's played with Xander Schauffele at times. He's played with Sam Burns. He's kind of the he's the guy. He's the hot potato. They just pass him around. He plays with whoever's out there,
which is great. And think about we get into captain picks here, and he doesn't have to be a 5-match player. Right, he could play one format. When you look at 4-ball, you got to go out there and make a ton of birdies. He does make a lot of birdies, but you might be concerned with the putter in a 4-ball partnership. But when you get into 4-some play, you got to start hitting some fairways and greens. Imagine pairing him with JJ Spawn, another California guy who's extremely reliable and accurate. I think that would be an option. I know Russell Henley seems to be going with Scotty Scheffler, but maybe they get broken up at some point. That kind of stuff happens. He could go with a Henley. You could give him some distance. You could put him with Cam Young. I really think you could put him anywhere because he's so reliable with his tee to green play. And I think the best way to hide that is in foursome play, specifically, preferably with another really strong iron player.
So in Rome, he played once with Fowler, once with Xander, once with Burns, and then he played in Sunday singles. So he did not play with the same player twice in Rome, which is interesting. We are now getting a debutante. The 29-year-old former mortgage lender, Ben Griffin, has made his very first Ryder Cup team. To call it a breakout year, Mark, would be an understatement. Not 1, but 2 victories. His OWGR has just flown up the rankings. He's now going to be a Ryder Cupper. And you talked a little bit about that chatter. There was a little chatter coming in that he might have been the odd man out. That was not the case. Ben Griffin's on this team.
I would have thrown the biggest tantrum you could imagine if he was not on this lineup.
Agreed.
Because people don't realize how good this guy is. And of the golfers we've talked about already, if there was a power ranking, I'd slot him in way above those dudes. and almost to a point where, some of the locks, the automatic picks, I would say in terms of form and just what he represents, Ben Griffin to me could be kind of the holster star around the place in the Ryder Cup because of everything he is. He's long. He has got big time gumption. He's going to show up. He's the guy that if you need someone to make a putt, he's up for it. He's like, give me the ball. I'm prepared to give this my best and fail. And I feel like he's just going to absolutely thrive. Oh, and then on top of it all, he's easy to go to get along with. He's going to be a joy in the locker room, and there's no airs and graces about him, so there won't be drama. And so I feel like this was the best of all of the picks to me. I think he's going to have a really good one, and I feel like we're going to uncover a future star in Ryder Cups because of Ben Griffin being picked.
He is going to be very popular. He's not going to cause any issues. He was 7th in strokes gained total, Greg, in 2025 on the PGA Tour, so you could argue 7th best player on the PGA Tour in 2025. He's got the victory with Andrew Novak at the Zurich, which is a team event. That probably helps a little bit as well. Ben Griffin has become one of my favorite guys. I'm so excited for him.
Yeah, I'm so excited for him too. And, Mark was upset when the Burns rumors started coming out. And I totally understand where you're coming from. The big concern for me was that it sounded like Ben Griffin was going to be the guy left off.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that really bothered me. Now, when I look at recent form and in projecting these things, if I were captain, I'd look at a wider view because we're still a month away. Right. So what you did in the Tour Championship, it has some value because you stepped up in a big moment. Right. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're playing that way a month from now. So you got to kind of take a look at a little wider lens to determine who the best players are, in my opinion. And when you look at Ben Griffin, this is not a hot streak, right? In his last 12 events, he's got 10 top 15s. 10 top 15. I mean, that is incredibly consistent. It's remarkable. And one of the events where he was outside of that was like his 11th in a row. And the other one was in Scotland, and we're not playing links golf. So, he checks all the boxes to me. He's longer than people think. He's right there with basically, with the exception of Morikawa and for opposite reasons, Cam Young, he gets at the same distance as everybody else that was picked, right in that 305 range. That's right where everybody is, which is amazing to me. So he's got it all. I'm psyched for Ben Griffin. I think he's going to have a great Ryder Cup.
Ben Griffin, Colin Morikawa, Justin Thomas. We've only got 3 spots left. There's at least 4 names, maybe 5, depending on how you think this is going to go, but just 3 spots remaining. And we get one of the biggest question marks coming next out of Captain Keegan Bradley as he selects Cameron Young. He is going to be making his Ryder Cup debut. He's going to be one of 4 Ryder Cup rookies. He gets the benefit of being a New York guy, having played at Bethpage plenty over his years, winning the New York State Open. But I look at this summer, Greg, and I see back-to-back 4th place finishes at the Canadian Open and the US Open. And then the run from the Wyndham Championship, where he finally breaks through for a victory, through the playoffs, 5th in Memphis, 11th at Caves Valley, and a 4th place finish in Atlanta. He's one of the hottest players in the world right now, and he brings this great skill set to this team.
One of the best drivers of the golf ball on this team. Aside from Bryson, he's the longest hitter on this team. I think that's a really good sign at a place like Bethpage Black, where driving is so important, distance is so important. And you add to it, I mean, despite what I just said about putting, he is a great putter, which is definitely not a knock against. So because you have that combination of great length and great putting, it's a wonderful pick. It's a no-brainer pick, in my opinion. I was so glad that he went this way. And then the last thing that I'd say about Cam Young, and I've said this before, after the Wyndham or before the Wyndham Championship, we've seen this run since the Wyndham, and take a look at a wide view lens, and you say, okay, well, he got hot. Is he going to be hot in a month? there's a reason why he got hot, and it's because he went back to his old shot shape. So, and it clearly worked, and he's clearly intended on sticking with it. So now you go even wider and look at what he's done the 3 years before this one. And he's been a top 50 ball striker on the PGA Tour each and every one of those years. So this is a guy that can step up in big moments. He's a great ball striker. He's putting great, and he's hot right now. And he loves the golf course. I mean, you cannot leave him off this team. So great choice.
This might be your Colin Morikawa partner, Mark, because while Cam Young has never played in the Ryder Cup, he did play in the 2022 President's Cup. That was, I believe, the year that he was Rookie of the Year. He got selected for that team. He played alongside Colin Morikawa twice at that President's Cup. He also played alongside Kevin Kisner. That's not going to happen this year. Kisner about as close to making the U.S. Ryder Cup team as I was. But this could be the pairing for Morikawa with Cam Young.
Yeah. Cam forced his way onto this team. It's as simple as that. Because a few months ago, he wasn't even on anyone's lips. Then all of a sudden, the run that he went on, and I'll add to what Greg said, the way he dominated en route to the victory at the Wyndham Championship. He didn't just win there. He went going away, and he proved something to me there, because before that, he was Cam Young, very talented, hits it a long way, was going to find a way to stumble as he gets close to the line. But he just doubled down and he dropped the hammer on people. And so I was like, Now, you might say that that's because he went back to the old shot shape. Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. But the guy found a way to start making some putts too. Because ordinarily, when he was under pressure, he was like Fleetwood in a way, where putts would start kind of limping at the hole. And the guy that was aggressive and confident in rounds 1 through 3 sort of went away as the pressure got ratcheted up. But he's been really sound lately. I feel like he's going to be a boon around this place because he's not just long, he's accurate. So he's going to be fun for someone to play alongside. Yeah, Morikawa sort of makes sense a little bit. I love the New York connection too. I really do, because, the fans over there are looking for, people to sort of pull for and pull against. And I understand you pull for the United States, but when there's a hometown connection or a home state connection, I think it'll be extra loud. And maybe that will bring some of the energy that Cam Young sort of seems to lack. I know the fire burns hot inside. Really does. If you watch him, you'll see him get animated, but he doesn't show it. And in the Ryder Cup's one of those things where I've talked before about putting the exclamation point on shots, with a club twirl or a fist pump or look at your opponent in the eye or something like that. I feel like we may unlock a little bit of Cam Young's alter ego because of the fans there, and that could be a good thing.
A Cam Young alter ego would be sick to see. Now, let me paint the vision here, because as this whole thing, we're 4 picks into this. It's taken like 20 minutes, right? Because Keegan gives a pick. They bring the guy on via Zoom. They ask him a couple questions. Everybody's all happy pappy, right? All that stuff. So Cam Young does his, are you proud to be on the team? Blah, blah, blah. All those questions. And then the host asks him, I have the transcript right here. Says, Cam, you said that one of your goals this year was to make the Ryder Cup team. And if you did, it would mean more to you than winning a golf tournament. Why is it so important for you to make this team? And do any of your team members know that you were on the winning 2024 U.S. Junior Ryder Cup team in Scotland? And Cam Young says, yeah, I think one of them might remember in particular. I know Sam was on that team with me. That's a fun memory to share. And then he would go on to say why it's such a big achievement. But Greg, we didn't know Sam Burns was on this team at this point. And now, as you can imagine, Twitter, which is already a very tense place during this with only 2 selections to go, is kind of freaking out that Cam Young might have just spoiled this selection.
Yes. And ultimately it's no big deal, but I was watching this on the Ryder Cup YouTube channel, and I had a lot going on because this was airing on our show this morning. So we're like slightly delayed, but I have the live YouTube feed up. So I'm seeing who's going to be next ahead, and the comments are firing in, but I can't hear it. I can see it. I can't hear it. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. People are going nuts about it. So it was entertaining more than anything else. Fortunately, everybody knew they were going to be on the team or not on the team before that. So, no, it's not really hurting anybody's feelings in advance. Probably a silly thing to say, but this will be forgotten about in 2 weeks.
I'm not going to forget about it.
I want to say this. I'm waiting for the next Netflix series to come out where they show the call to Maverick McNeely at this stage of the thing. Because, if you're putting on good players with a bright future and the future of the team and a guy who can putt and good season, all the rest of it, here's Maverick McNeely. So I'm keen to see how Keegan dealt with that call, because Keegan, remember, was on the receiving end of this stuff the last time one of these things rolled around.
Yeah, that's right. So now we've got 2 spots left, and our heads are spinning because we know Patrick Cantlay is still out there. We know Sam Burns is still out there. We know Keegan Bradley is still out there. Maverick McNeely. They all can't make this team. So next up, Captain Keegan Bradley reveals that the second to last spot is going to go to Patrick Cantlay. And this should not and was not much of a surprise here, Greg. He is a seasoned Ryder Cupper, President's Cupper. He's got a 5-2-1 record in the Ryder Cup. He's never been beaten in Sunday singles, and he has his built-in partnership with Xander Schauffele.
Now, I would have put him on my team. I was hearing rumblings that he was going to get left off the team too, from sources very close to the situation, like shockingly close. So I was surprised to see this in a good way. Given what Cam Young had just said, I thought we were going to see Sam's face next.
Mm-hmm.
We see Cantlay, and that's what gave away everything ultimately. But Cantlay is no surprise. He's one of those guys you cannot leave off the team. There was a lot of talk about him being a bad locker room guy. Like, we had a lot of callers on the radio talking about the hat situation and how they didn't like it. Hatgate. But if you listen to the press conference after the Ryder Cup, every player on that team backed up Patrick Cantlay. Nobody had they were laughing about it. They thought it was a ridiculous story in the media. He was clearly, in my opinion, very much a part of the team. And I don't think his teammates really thought that was a bad thing. And ultimately, even if they did, the guy wins points.
The guy wins points. The guy wins points, Marks. He was, believe it or not, he was the energy source in Rome. Now, whether or not that was because he didn't wear a hat, and then Jamie Weir tweeted that he wanted to be paid for and all this other stuff, I don't know. But he was the energy source that at least gave the United States some ounce of life in Rome, as they were getting absolutely trounced by the Europeans.
If I was reaching outside of 12 or 13, certainly Cantlay would be the guy I would have reached down there for, because of who he is as a competitor. That guy is bulletproof. He's got ice in his veins, and he stood up to the entire the entire European team and all of Rome. Remember that over there? He didn't give a continental about how people were heckling him. He just played up to it. And you know what? The louder it got, the more he got myopic and made putts on top of the on top of the Europeans to earn points for the Americans. This guy's tough. There's a couple of guys on this team, and I'm not looking here at the way you're playing. I'm just looking at the personalities. And if I had to go into hell and battle Satan, Cantlay and Justin Thomas would be on my lineup, because that's who they are. They're like, all right, I'm up for this stuff. Let's go. No questions asked. We're diving right in. You're getting 100% of us. That's who Cantlay is. And you add to that the ice in the veins. And then you add to that, he and Xander are freaking dynamite together. I mean, you can book them as an anchor pairing in just about every match that goes out there. He was a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, he'll be alongside Xander, I'm sure, early and often when we get to Bethpage. So that leaves us with just one final spot. Keegan and Sam Burns cannot both have that spot. And Cam Young has seemed to have spoiled this for us, and Cam's foreshadowing comes through, because Keegan Bradley, after taking a long look at his notes and a couple extra deep breaths and maybe a swallow, Mark, he says Sam Burns is my final selection. Back on the team after making his debut in 2023. He is the PGA Tour's putting king, leads the tour in strokes gained putting, has a good rapport with a lot of the players. He rounds out the team of 12 that will be at Bethpage in about a month.
So what Keegan was trying to sell, the fact that no one really heard that Burns was on the team because of Cam Young. Again, I've been critical of Sam Burns, but when I take a step away from my emotions and I just look at the dollars and cents of it, or the black and white, the X's and O's, he hits it long. He can putt well. Scotty Scheffler and he are a good combination in certain formats. I feel like Scotty may split time between him and Russell Henley, because I feel like Scotty and Russell are a little bit more sharp a combination. But the reality is, the last time we saw Scotty and Russell, they were playing on a European style layout in the President's Cup in Montreal. So now going to an American layout where the fairways will be wider, the rough won't be as high, where the big bombers can just bash and still play, I feel like they'll probably be good. So look, Sam is a dog. He is. He hasn't played that well. When he was in contention, he didn't finish stuff off. But you know what? A new broom sweeps clean. So I'm going to look for the best in this, because I know he's a talented kid. I mean, I raved about him when I first saw him play. So, you know, he's been given the spot now. Now it's time to show up and prove his worth.
I like Sam Burns a lot, Greg, but I think that you and I were in agreement that this would not have been our 12th man. My 12th man would have been Keegan Bradley. So this would have been the guy that was not going to make my roster, and I believe you agree with that.
Yes, I would have swapped him for Keegan Bradley. That being said, I like Mark, think that Sam Burns is a wonderful player. The thing that I like about him is, if you remember back in 2000 and must have been 21 at Quail Hollow in the President's Cup, he was playing with Scotty and they were losing, and Scotty just didn't play very well, and Sam Burns was kind of carrying him
a lot that week,
right? And they lost and they made it to 18. They only made it to 18 because of Sam Burns. So I do think there's an ability to step up, especially in situations like this. You know, I do think, I know he's the putting king, as you said, Rick, but he did miss a 5-footer to win the Canadian Open. I don't love that. I didn't love that performance down the stretch. Also, on the contrary, there was a really long wait. He had to wait like 2 hours once he got into that playoff. So I'm just, I'm very happy with it. I think it's a very good team. I think he's a very good 12th man. And I do think that his ball striking has gotten a whole lot better since, say, the Canadian Open. I think it's looked much better. It is not a Colin Morikawa. He's not that kind of hitter. It's not at Scheffler's level, but with his length, his proven track record, in my opinion, of being a gamer, if you will, especially in these cup matches, I think ultimately it's a fine choice.
Here's your team. They're headed to Bethpage. Sam Burns, Patrick Cantlay, Bryson DeChambeau, and Harris English. Ben Griffin, Russell Henley, Colin Morikawa, Xander Schauffele. And we rounded out with J.J. Spawn, Scotty Scheffler, Justin Thomas, and Cameron Young. Noticeably missing from that 12-pack mark is the captain himself, Keegan Bradley. The conversation throughout the entirety of the year was, can Keegan both play and captain? After his victory at the Travelers Championship, it seemed like a no-brainer that he was going to be on this team one way or another. He was asked, 90% of the questions that were asked were somehow related to Keegan not picking himself, why he didn't pick himself. We can get into some of those comments here in a few minutes, but this is pretty shocking considering what we saw, especially after the Travelers Championship.
Yes, and if you were looking for someone to, keep the nuclear codes, or maybe the the password to get into Fort Knox or something like that, Keegan Bradley is your guy, because he disguised this for the longest time. And he sold it too in press conferences, because he was just coy enough to make people think perhaps he was playing, and then perhaps he's not, and he's unsure about the thing. But if he tells people, and if I'm taking him at his word, where he goes, I've kind of been confident about this for a while. So it sounds to me prior to the playoffs, because all of a sudden in the Tour Championship, when he's whipping up on everyone on his team, bar Scotty, then you're like, gosh, maybe you should be playing. So he said he made the decision a while back. I commend him for it. He's put his ego aside, and he's put country and team in front of him, because I will say this, being related to someone who's captained a team like this, it's not the Ryder Cup. The President's Cup is big, but not as big. It's a full-time gig, and you can't part-time it. And so I commend him for this. And I do want to point out something too. Chris Gotterup, who a lot of folks talked about, on August 25, so that's 2 days ago, right? Because Keegan said that they knew who the team was 48 hours ago.
Mm-hmm.
On August 25, Chris Gotterup tweets, "Year 2 in the books. Proud of my team and its progress. Left it all out there. Time for some much needed R&R." So he was telegraphing there basically that I'm not going to be on the team. So that leads me to believe that Keegan is truthful about what he's saying, in which case he dodged the media in the best way, and I'm impressed at his interviewing skills, and he's going to be a great captain. I truly believe that.
I agree that he's going to be a great captain. I do not believe him, Greg. I do not believe
he should He should have played. He is one of the 12 best players. He and Maverick McNeely. Sorry, that's just how it is.
If there was a captain not named Keegan Bradley would be on the team. That's a fact. Now, I think Keegan Bradley cares more about everything than anyone. It doesn't matter what it is. The guy is nearly neurotic. He cares way too much about every single thing that he does. Now, I think he cares a lot about playing in the Ryder Cup. And I think this decision for him not to play was more difficult than he made it out to be, and a lot more recent than he made it out to be.
I think so too, Rick. We talked about this beforehand, because this conversation has been going on for a long time, right? And after the Travelers Championship, when he said, this kind of changes things.
Yes.
And you saw some, the captain's agreement comes out, and there's a clause in there that if he's playing, somebody else can take on the captain duties. Those kind of signals indicated to me that he had decided that he was going to play. Now, of course, there's still time to change your mind, clearly. I think that's a really difficult decision, to sit there and at one point get to a place in your mind where you say, I am going to play on the Ryder Cup team. I'm going to be a player captain, and then to eventually back out in potentially your last Ryder Cup opportunity. Potentially. It's a big step. It's a difficult thing to do. And I don't know if it was the right decision. He said he wanted to take the 12 best guys. I don't think he did that.
Yeah.
That being said, now we got to go to the scales here, right? What weighs more? Because it's one thing to say, well, 12, your 12 best guys, I'm going to take the 12 best guys. But what's the difference between 12 and 13? Right? And if Keegan's 12th, I wouldn't have him at 12th. But let's just say that he's 12th. How much better, how many more points is it worth than Sam Burns, who I consider to be the last guy in? I don't know if that's how Keegan's thinking about it. How many more points do you think that is? I mean, that could be 0 points. Even if Keegan is definitely better, it could be 0 points. Is that, what are the positives? Maybe you have more options. My biggest concern with Keegan being a playing captain was not his ability, but you lose a little bit of flexibility. Hey, I'm going to play in the morning so that I can do this in the afternoon. Or I'm going to go first out so I can do this after. Rather than, okay, this team needs to go first in foursomes. This is our anchor team in 4-ball. You lose a little of that flexibility if you're trying to manage both. So I thought that Keegan was going to be on the team. I thought he should have been on the team. I think there's definitely, you lose a little bit here, but it might be worth it.
I couldn't agree more. Like I said, I feel like Keegan and Maverick should have been on the team without a shadow of a doubt. If Keegan's stepping aside, I think the next one is certainly Cantlay. Although you could make an argument for Cantlay. Actually, no. You can kind of make an argument for Cantlay over someone else on the team, in my opinion, of the selections. What I find kind of curious, right? Because this was supposed to be settled, like the last day for qualification was the end of the Tour Championship. Am I right in my understanding of the rules?
It was the end of the BMW Championship.
Okay, because they stopped points. Okay, because then all of a sudden Keegan finishes third or whatever it was at the Tour Championship.
Right.
But there weren't points being updated. So if you're looking for recency and who's playing well, that's just another iron to stoke the fire with. So yes, I wonder if Keegan had some sort of a drop dead date, as if to say, okay, August 10, I've got to make my decision by. Let's just call it arbitrarily.
Right.
And then who was he taking advice from? Because clearly this is not a decision you make by yourself. Because we've all been there. If you're in this place, you wake up one morning, you're like, okay, I'm going to do it. And then 2 hours later, you're like, no, I'm not going to do it. That's just how it is. And I'm certain this was not the easiest decision in the world. So there had to be some counsel being taken. And I'm wondering where it came from. And then I'm wondering if, in fact, there was any doubt after he dusted all 11 of his team members, except for Scotty at the Tour Championship. No, Russell. Russell tied him, I think it was. So he beat 9 of 12 of them.
Greg, you were mentioning like, okay, how much is that worth? How much is that worth? And I wonder if it became a part of Keegan's calculations that these guys know how much I want to play and how much I want to be a part of this. That if I fall on my sword here, I've got these guys. Right. They will just go to battle for me. They will run through a wall for me. I can be a much more effective captain by using this as almost like a rallying cry.
I'm not sure they needed one, but it could, I could see that angle for sure. The other thing too, Rick, is other than Keegan, who's going to be there and who is the captain, there's probably no snub talk. I'm sure there are some people that think McNeely got snubbed, but I'm sure that those people also understand this team. Maybe they think that Thomas or Morikawa should not be on the team. Sam Burns is coming off 2 top 7 finishes. So like the general public, I would say, is, aside from Keegan, very happy with this team, and Keegan's still going to be there.
Yeah.
Right. The phone call, it's one less phone call that he had to make. And I was wondering if that really could that have played into it. And hey, I'm going to do anything so that this team can win. I'll do whatever it takes so this team can win. If you're Sam Burns, you better do anything to make sure that this team wins, because maybe it's Cantlay, maybe it's Cam Young. Those 3 guys, they're going to have a feeling that they need to go step up and prove that Keegan made the right decision. Because Keegan backed them over himself. It's a big statement.
The self snub, if you will, Mark, but the McNeely stuff is interesting. I mean, he's a phenomenal player. He's having a great year. There was a comment, I don't have it exactly, but there was a comment that Keegan made, something like, it was almost like you have to earn it for your first time. He said it's hard to pick guys in their first Ryder Cup. And almost like that was the reason that McNeely didn't make this team, is like, if you're going to get there the first time, you have to go out and earn it. I'll see if I can find the quote.
Oof, that's a bit harsh.
He also said about himself, I wasn't going to play if I didn't win.
But
maybe he values the winning a little more than, he might put a big value on winning.
Well, yeah, I saw this question because look, we can hypothesize and talk around the subject till the cows come home. It is what it is now, and Keegan's the captain, and he's going to be an inspirational captain. He's going to be motivational. I feel like he's going to lead from the front. I feel like where previous captains you've had Spieths and Justin Thomas's and company in the locker room to kind of G the team up. I feel like this team's not going to need much of that, and if they do, Keegan's the guy. So there's that going on. It's time now for this team to galvanize a little bit, and I think he's a good guy from that, and he's answered all the questions, and it's going to go on. I think the hard thing, and this was asked in the comments. Here's the reality of it, and I've said this time and time again. I've been a college coach for a long time, and oftentimes when you're putting together a team, it's easier just to have players go and qualify. And you go, top 5 guys go, no questions asked. When I always used to have teams where like 3 would qualify, and then you'd have 2 captains' picks or coaches' picks, those coaches' picks, you could only be wrong. Because if they played well, that was expected, right? But if they play poorly, that sits squarely on the captain's shoulders. So whereas Keegan is putting country and team before self and shelving his ego, if this works out, fantastic for him. If it doesn't, there's going to be gigantic blowback in early October. That's just how it is.
Here's the McNeely quote. So Keegan was asked about Maverick McNeely, specifically how difficult was it to leave him off the team, etc. Keegan said, very, very difficult to call Mav. Incredible kid, played well all year long. I was very upfront with these guys that haven't made the team before. You really have to, in most cases, make the team on points in your first team. It's really difficult to get a pick in your first team event. I made that very clear to him, and he still played great. So that's what I was referring to. It was not nearly as harsh as I probably made it out to be, but he was pretty clear.
And you got basically, he did pick 2 first-timers, but they both won tournaments in Cam Young and in Ben Griffin.
But Cam Young has also played, Cam Young has President's Cup.
Yep.
And Ben Griffin was just much too good to leave off.
And won twice.
Yeah.
So that kind of leaves your captain with no choice, I would say. Are tough calls.
They really are.
I think we got a really solid 12.
I think so. I'm with you. I think a lot of us can be critical. I certainly am. Well, I think a lot of me is thinking not just this team, but I'm thinking this team to face up to Murderer's Row in Europe right now with Luke Donald, because you're getting the same group from Rome minus Nikolai, and you're just replacing that with Rasmus. So this is a group that's cohesive. They know what works. Luke's a tremendous captain. Luke knows the drill. So I'm thinking of the team versus the United States, and not being too reliant on the 13th man. They got to get up there. They got to show up and play, because they certainly didn't show up and play when they were in Rome. And maybe all of them playing in Napa, sans Bryson, is a good thing. But now it's time to sort of get the nose to the grindstone and show up when your number is called.
Lots of great photos and memes and tweets going around. I think
this tweet was.
Let's see if we have this from Patrick McDonald. Mina, do we have it?
It was the best. It was the best one.
I screwed that up. So
best
if you're not watching on YouTube, it is a picture of, so all these guys are just at home on Zoom. It's Patrick McDonald tweeting about Patrick Cantlay. So a shot of Patrick Cantlay says, the last thing you see before your company announces mass layoffs, which is just hilarious. I don't think Patrick Cantlay said another word after he was selected. I think he just sat there for 25 minutes.
This one was brilliant because it's just so emblematic of Cantlay. There was another one where they've got like the split screen of Cantlay with the same face
Mm-hmm.
And it's by glute_activator if Mina can find it. Cantlay, finance is actually proficient in Excel. Cam, some IT guy who just spent 4 days fixing a Teams integration issue. He hates Teams. Ben, overly energetic product manager, uses a stand-up desk. And then Colin, intense business development guy, drives a blacked out Model X. I mean, like, it was so true. It was brilliant.
So you could tell. So Ben Griffin is by far the best video call. He was muting himself, unmuting himself. His camera had like a little perfect zoom. Some of these guys look like they were, like their cameras were 30 years old. They were in like regular standard depth. There you go. Good job, Mina.
These guys.
Well, I mean, Ben Griffin's the only one that's been on an actual business call.
Yeah, like corporate America experience.
Yeah.
Justin Thomas looked like he had just woken up for his call.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Very, very good stuff. Well, we are halfway there. We've got just the European squad to go. That'll happen on Monday, but by all accounts, there will be no surprises here. It is going to be the same exact team that we had in Rome, except Rasmus instead of Nikolai Højgaard. And I think everybody is very much on the same page about that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's the same team. Who knows? I know both the twins were there. I don't. Maybe they both played last time.
We'd never know.
Mark would know. Mark would know. He can tell by the ball flight.
There you go. This was Mina's tweet. She liked this one a lot.
JT.
With the Ben Affleck smoking outside one, which is very good.
I played golf yesterday, and this guy I played with had one of the funniest lines I've ever heard. And so his partner, who I'm playing against, misses a putt, and he goes, and the crowd goes, ah. And that's what I think of with that picture.
Yeah. Grant Boone calls that, and the crowd goes mild.
That's funny. It's rare that you hear something new on the golf course.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's always the same.
Yeah,
stuff.
It's such an echo chamber.
Over and over again.
Yeah,
it's rare when you hear something new.
So here's a quick question: how far down the list does Luke have to go to grab Ram?
Well,
21?
like 20, yeah, 20 something.
Okay, it's. I think it's happening.
Oh
yeah.
So who gets snubbed? Is it for Patrick?
Wallace.
Yeah.
Wallace. Okay.
But he's like 11th or 12th. He'd be the only guy. Yeah. Everybody else is there.
Yeah.
Ram and Hatton out. Book this Friday morning. Ram and Hatton out first, just like they did in Rome.
Why not?
Anchor match. You can have Rose and McIntyre. It's like they've got this whole thing taped. I mean, it's like rinse and repeat. It's same deal. Switch on the lights.
They know what they're doing. I'll tell you what, Mark. I don't know if it'll be Hatton and Rom, but it'll be the right pairing. It'll be the right team. That's the way they do it over there.
Hatton and Rom. It's like if you had to find two guys who would be perfect to go out and deal with all the heckling, it would be the two of them, because both of them would get equally pissed off at the New Yorkers, and that would fire them up to play harder. That's how they're going to work together.
And they work well that way.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, we'll be back. We'll figure out a day and a time for next week, but we will keep this rolling. We'll get you the final European team, and then we'll look ahead to this Ryder Cup. And then I think the week after that is the Pro Course. So we'll be right back at it. Again, if you're watching on the Rick Run Good YouTube channel, we do this multiple times a week, usually Tuesday, Friday, Sunday, when there are tournaments happening. It's the Second Cut podcast. Make sure you subscribe or follow it on YouTube or Spotify or iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts. And then the link for our NFL Survivor, which begins, I believe, on September 7th, is in the description. Somebody's going to win at least $5,000 there, because we've crossed into triple digits of entries. So that'll be a lot of fun. And I actually think we're pacing to fill it this far out, which is a very, very good sign. All right. Big thanks to producer Mina. She does all the hard work behind the scenes. For Greg DuCharme, for Mark Immelman, I'm Rick Gehman. This is the Second Cut. We'll catch you next time.